Today, we're a small team of only like 3 people here, but we'll try to do our best to explain a bit more about like this initiative, about this call for expression of interest that we have open regarding the ClimAccelerator and our flagship program. So thank you so much for taking the time today. A few things, you will navigate, you will go through the slides, and afterwards, as I said already, we will share with you the slides and also the recording, but only with the people that actually registered for the session. So I will start today, and this is the main reason that everyone is here today. So we're looking for new partners, new collaborations on the ClimAccelerator program. The expression of interest phase for potential ClimAccelerator organizers and new collaboration is open until the end of March, and you can see the exact times based on either like the Central European time or the Singapore time. So we'll start. You will see there are like the presentation today that we have prepared is structured into 4 main sections. First, you will hear from Morten about EIT Climate-KIC, what we do and what we're trying like to achieve. Then we will also jump inside the ClimAccelerator, starting to give you a bit more of a background about the initiative and what we're trying to achieve through this program. And then we'll also jump to the practicalities of the session regarding about the application and the procedure. And then, of course, the floor will be yours. So we'll start about the Climate-KIC, and I pass it over to Morten.
Thank you very much, Alex, and hello and welcome everyone. Good morning for the ones joining from Europe, and good afternoon from the ones from Asia. So today I would just run through a quick and brief introduction to EIT Climate-KIC. It is actually quite an interesting day for us today as well, as we have been in as an organization for 15 years, and also in terms of our, you could say, our branding that will be changing for the coming period, but you will get more information on this later. But just to explain who we are, so we were set in place to be the European leading climate innovation agency, and this has been in order to make sure that we transfer both places, but also industry value chains by 2030. And here we are aware that we cannot just do this as business as usual. We all see now that the world is changing rapidly, both in terms of climate change, but also in terms of other focal points. What we have seen is that we need new models for innovate, and this needs just not to be small incremental changes, but we need to complete the systems. And we do this by many different ways, where we activate our different partners and levels. We also, of course, connect these innovative partners, and then we try to put this into running into the same direction in order to make sure that then these changes then are implemented at a larger scale. And as I said, we are just an organization out of a lot of different organizations. So we do this together in partnerships, where we, through different tools, through our different solutions, and also, as we know, the funding part is important in order to build both skills, capacities, but also to shift the mindset in order to make sure that then we can actually implement and find the triggers and innovators and leverages in order to make sure that the changes is actually happening. So this is just an overview to show that we are, as a player, we work both at a global, at a pan-European country, subnational, cities, and industry corporates. So we have different entrance points where we, together with our partners, that being you, that being the UN, that being some of the more stronger cities that actually have a clear focus on how can they, as a demand owner, also support in the transitions toward having better solutions. Yeah, this is just in order to show a little bit where we are at the moment. As you can see, we've been working quite extensively, both in Europe and in Africa. The dots are spread a little bit more across the Latin America, and also scattered a little bit around in Asia, Southeast Asia. This is just to show where we are currently active. It doesn't mean that the rest of the world is not need of climate change solutions, but we, of course, as our position, want to work together with people that have the right mindset, but also have, you could say, similar democratic values as we treasure highly from our organization. So I think now I will move a little bit more into what is actually when we speak about climate entrepreneurship and where we focus within the entrepreneurship solutions and ventures. So you could say that, just to put it very briefly and very specifically, we have 3 different areas where we are extremely strong. One part is the capacity building, where we have and are providing different technical support, both to our partners of what we call entrepreneurship support organizations that are part of, you could say, the programs. And then also we do this to specifically support the startups and scale-ups in their journey towards being successful. This we do through what we call the venture scaling. Again, here, our focus is, of course, of making startups and scale-ups successful, but also making sure that we have and we are supporting the startups that have actually a positive climate impact as well. And then the last part is the innovative clusters. This is getting a little bit broad, but we have seen in many parts of the world that there's also the need to build and support the thriving local ecosystem. So here again, it's sometimes a question, not just as a global scale, but also in a local context, to make sure that everybody is running in the same direction. And I'm quite sure you that are working with startups and you could say entrepreneurship, this is not a new way of showing it, very linear. We are very aware that it's very simplified, but just to say that we have different programs just in order to support the ideation stage with what we call the Climate Fund or Hackathon. We have incubation programs with our global climate launchpads. We have the acceleration program that we will be focusing on today with the Climate-KIC. And then we have implemented different, you could say, support programs and activities, both in terms of creating investment pipelines. We have introduced for specific and very innovative scaling startups, what we call the Climate Safe. And as a last point, we are also setting up 1.5 fund in order to invest in the startups that have the potential. So here again, just in order to say, how do we do this specifically? So it is what we're saying, the entrepreneurial support, where we have different elements, both in terms of course, the ideation, business development, but also the mentorship, the climate impact measurements that we will explain a little bit more later. And then, of course, we also have a very keen interest in making sure that we have the right balance, both in terms of gender, but also in terms of opportunities. And we do this through our network, as mentioned, both in terms of the demands that we see across the different elements in institutions, municipalities, but also in terms of US partners as entrepreneurial support organization or other players in the ecosystem. And then, of course, the last part, where who should actually fund this, we see that a lot of the right initiatives, they are keenly supported by the local ecosystem. And that's also where we believe that in order to get local ecosystems running in the same direction, that it needs to be also from a bottom-up perspective. And that can, of course, be local or national governments, but it can also be other research institutions or public bodies, private entities as well. Yeah, and I think we're just running into the little bit of specific on how the program is actually structured. So here you could see today there's only 3 of us with Krista, the communication manager, and Alex as the program manager within entrepreneurship. We have 2 people focusing on the climate impact. We have Jasmina and Leah. We have within our gender program, Wallace, and then we have Christian that is supporting our activities at the current stage, very focused within the Latin America. And then the last part, Mido, that is, as I was mentioning, part of our support within the investment parts. Yeah, and our Climate-KIC programs, as you can see, it's been running for more than 10 years. We focus both on the theme-based and the place-based. And this is why we see that the local context is extremely important, both in terms of the different themes, but also here that it's done in the local environments. It is, of course, in terms of putting in the right support and knowledge. And here from a global scale, we are able, from our knowledge of working across multiple programs, to make sure that everybody are getting the right support and information. So we have supported, as you can see, more than 2,500 startups across our programs. And it is quite an impressive number, both in terms of how many programs that has been running, and maybe the most bragging part is, of course, the capital raise that for startups and scale-ups is where they see maybe the most value from having a climate positive impact and program. So the program is structured in a 3-stage model, and this is, you could say, rather standard to some extent, with starting with the business model development, the customer traction, and the investor readiness. You could say that within both the stage 1 and the stage 2, we're focusing within what we call low TL level. So the technology readiness level is sometimes not so developed, but it's actually here where we see that both startups and scale-ups, that they have opportunity, both in terms of understanding what kind of climate impact can their technology actually make. And then a little bit strangely enough for us, we also experience often that they actually don't even have a clear understanding of what is their climate impact. And this is here where you could say the ClimAccelerator program has its very clear position within the market. The stage 3 is, of course, where you could say the startups and scale-ups, they are ready for getting more in-depth negotiations between both with investors, but also approaching more in-depth the investor networks. And we have, as Climate-KIC, also here developed a rather global network of investors that are looking very specifically for startups that have a climate positive impact. I think that would be it from my side, so I'll leave the word to Alex. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, Morten, for all this introduction. So now we'll dive a bit more about the program, some practicalities, and actually what you're going to get through this program. So the first one is what it takes to run a ClimAccelerator. As you can see here, we have identified like a few key points about what it takes. So the first one is to integrate the ClimAccelerator branding in your materials. We'll be working closely with both Morten and I, and also Krista, in order to implement this branding in your materials, or the communication materials, the deliverables, the workshops, the webinars, and so on. The second one is to use as much of the core DNA of the ClimAccelerator, the three-stage model, for example, that Morten explained. So we want like to have this structure, and we want like to be harmonized across all of our programs. The next ones is, of course, to share the startup and climate impact data. This is one of the activities, as you will see in a bit, and we want also to understand who are we working with, who are we supporting, and so on. The last two is, of course, to connect with other ClimAccelerator organizers. We will give you the platform, we will give you the tools and the means to achieve that, but also to connect your local community to our global network and have this another pin in this great map that Morten showed before. So I think this is also like quite important, why we should do it, why you should apply for this call and be our ClimAccelerator, our next ClimAccelerator partner. The first one is that Climate-KIC will also, besides everything that Morten said about the entrepreneurial support, will also give you access to a series of tools, program management tools, handbooks, coaching, and mentoring networks. We will connect you with the right people, and at the same time, we will provide you throughout the year, this and the next one, of course, learning modules in order to enhance your skills and capabilities. Besides that, we'll also use directly with the startups our climate impact tools in order to assess, validate the climate impact and the social of the business potential of the startups that we will be supporting in the program. As I said before, all of you, all of the potential partners and the startups will also be part of the greater community that we have structured all these years from the different programs that we have. We also have the peer-to-peer learning, where you have the opportunity to link up and exchange learnings and connect with other ClimAccelerator organizers. That means people that have already delivered the program, so we can learn a lot from them, but also other people that are in the current stage with you. Ideally, what we want is to forge connections, is to forge new collaborations, and ideally deliver a bigger program, for example, in the next few years. At the same time, the ClimAccelerator becomes part of a bigger story. As I said, that's why the branding is also important. And your organization and your program will also be part of a bigger story of a global recognized brand. Lastly, it's the last point on this map and on these like stages that Morten presented before about the 1.5 pipeline and 1.5 funds and the climate safe program, all this investment traction that we can provide. So, as I said before, we're also going to provide you some learning modules for you. Here you can see, I won't go, of course, like one by one, but here you can see that we have identified a series of masterclasses for you in order to take into account the gender balance and the mainstream, for example, all the system change and what we're trying to achieve through this paradigm shift, or some general topics. For example, the ISO best practices about business models, fundraising, how to design a program, a ClimAccelerator program, and so on. All this will be offered to you throughout the program. Maybe some activities will overlapping with the actual delivery of the program, but at the same time, we want like to make sure that it's not the startups, it's not only the startups that are getting support from Climate-KIC. One important element, I think Morten also like mentioned it before, is the climate impact assessment. So one of the activities that Climate-KIC is also like provides to the startups directly is this what we called impact assessment. So the climate impact assessment is a suite of services designed to measure, project, and communicate both climate and social impacts. So we're talking about a series of tools that they are tailored to meet the needs of the startups each startup is coming like from a different sector, has different needs, and so on. So we want to be adaptive to that. So we'll create a small cohort for the startups, and we'll adapt to their needs and what they're trying like to achieve like through this. So it's a series of we start with a workshop, and then each one will be working with each one of the startups like closely in order to measure and quantify their potential impact. As you can see here, there are like four main things that I would like to highlight today. So why is this important? This is important because potential investors, businesses, or other collaborators in the future can better identify and support only the startups that have a positive climate and social outcome. If a startup has a certificate about their potential impact, this means a lot to a potential investor down the road. The second one is that all of our services are modular, are completely digital, and they are tailored to organization needs. They're easy to use, and at the same time will help both you and the startups like to grow and show the impacts in a scalable way. The last one, which we would like to highlight, is that there is an element in these services that it's called impact pre-assessment. This impact pre-assessment is something that is like obligatory for each ClimAccelerator. And as if you remember before, Leah, our impact expert, will be here for you in order to assist with this process. It's a workshop where it's a webinar where each one of the startups will have to join and work on this pre-assessment of the impact assessment. This is something that is covered 100% from Climate-KIC. Then another element that it's really important to us is the gender mainstreaming and the balance that Morten said before. So this is something that was also recognized from the European Commission Gender Equality Strategy 2021-2025 and Horizon Europe Gender Equality Plan from 2021-2027. Besides all of the other tools that I mentioned before, EIT Climate-KIC will support organizers in order to provide, train also at the same time, gender equal climate session. So this will target three main things. The first one is to eliminate gender bias in your selection process, target at least 35% women-led startups participation in the program, and the last one is how to be more inclusive, for example, for the non-binary people and other marginalized genders. Then we have branding and promotion. If you have more questions about that, Krista is also here to help you with that. But in general, we will offer you a brand guide. Everything is structured and waiting for you. We have a digital toolkit for organizers. And actually today is a great day for Climate-KIC because as Morten said, we'll also having a shift to our brand. We're going to a new branding. So all these templates and all these branding guidelines will be updated. And of course, the logo that bears the EU flag is also included in the process. So how to increase our outreach and visibility? You have to promote the open call in the accelerator on your LinkedIn accounts in English. At the same time, we will also do it through our official accounts. We're going to have announcement in the Startup Alumni newsletter, an exclusive Climate-KIC startup group. This is also a template that we're going to provide with you in order to gain more visibility and momentum. We have also to list on the programs page so everyone can see at any given point the program that you are offering and some key information about your organization, of course. And the last one is the storytelling support about articles, blogs, press release, for example, being part of themed or other newsletters that we also provide. So shifting from the tools and what you get, would like also to explain a bit more about the application, so the practicalities and how would the next steps, how it would look like. So as hopefully most of you already read, we have identified three main themes for this round. So for each one of the ClimAccelerator, the ClimAccelerators that we have offered all these years, they have like a strong geography focus, but at the same time a strong theme focus. So for this round, we have identified these three themes: Agritech and Blue Economy, and Deep Tech. I think everyone understands and knows about the importance of the Agritech practices and blue economy, given the crisis that we are going through. But here we have listed a few, for examples, a few of the subsections that would be eligible for this call. For example, for the Agritech, we have regenerative farming, sustainable supply chains, smart crop breeding, or soil enhancement, but at the same time for the blue economy, aquaculture, marine renewable energy, coastal ecosystem restoration, and so on. So these are some of the key. These are not limited, of course, to this list, but this is some of the subsections that the startups should be active into. So the last, of course, is a deep tech. We want to be running along with the technology, being on the cutting edge, and of course start to integrate the AI in the climate positive solutions. So for example, here we have advanced materials for climate resilience, carbon management, climate focused AI solutions, or advanced sensors and Internet of Things. So about you and your profile. So we are seeking new partners from Europe and Asia across all regions. In the previous calls, we had a short list of eligible countries, but for this round, we have opened the geography to all the regions in Europe and Asia. About the types of organizations, what we called ESOs, Entrepreneurship Support Organizations. Everyone should apply, but this is like throughout the years. This is the list that we have identified, and they have like the most potential to be partnered with us. We're talking about accelerators, incubators, venture builders, universities and research institutions, or really importantly, joint consortium applications. We really encourage people to join, partner up with other organizations and companies in order to deliver a co-fund program, in order to leverage diverse strengths and expertise. We understand that some of these activities are a bit difficult to organize, so we really encourage people to partner up and have a joint application to us. So a bit more on the applications and what it looks like, what we would like to see for you delivering the program. Of course, as I said before, you have like to integrate the ClimAccelerator branding in your materials. We have specific templates, guidelines, so everything is like ready for you. We just like really need to have the ClimAccelerator brand, everything, so you can be part of the bigger story. At the same time, and as explained before, we offer a standalone program. That means a program that can be funded through multiple channels, but we need a unique name and scope a theme. For example, here we have the Rural Spain ClimAccelerator. In this name, there is the theme, which is like the rural aspect. There is the ClimAccelerator word, that this is like part of the official name. And lastly, the geography and the country that we are eligible. So the rural Spain ClimAccelerator. Other, for example, other ClimAccelerators would be Energy ClimAccelerator Philippines, another program that is like open now, and so on. So the timeline, we're talking, we want all the partners to commence in the second quarter of 2025. And what exactly we mean by commence? We mean to start preparing the call, start the fundraising process, and in general, confirm with us and sign the agreement that we will deliver the ClimAccelerator program. Regarding the startups and the supporting startups, we want a minimum of 7 startups in the program, so every round, in order to deliver this climate positive impact that we have mentioned so many times today. A few things about the startups. The startups must be incorporated and registered in the country region. Of course, we can make a few exceptions, but it's really important the startups that must be incorporated, they have already their entity, so it's not just an idea. The second one is that they're established within the last 5 years. They have a minimum of TRL 4. It can also like be 3, really depending on them on the different like markets and the potential, of course. We want to commit at least 2 team members from their team to actively participate in the program. And the last one is, of course, like to have the potential to scale. Besides that, we want also to report clear climate impact calculations from the methodology that I briefly explained before. We also want you to share the core data and about the accepted startups and feedback about the program. So when it comes down to reporting, what we do, what we need is that like to have like a clear overview about the startups who are working with, some personal details in order to get into our database and have and create an impact dashboard, for example, about the program. Besides that, each one of the ClimAccelerator programs are also offering a demo day at the end of the program in order to showcase the achievements and wrap up the event. This is also something that is at our organizers' responsibility. Besides that, of course, we have that all communication must be conducted in English. And at the same time, as I mentioned before about the community and brand, we need like to increase the reach of the ClimAccelerator. You have like to promote the call. At the same time, we will do our respective parts. Here, we also have the evaluation criteria. In other words, the criteria that Climate-KIC will evaluate you. As you can see, all of them, all 5 of them are mandatory. The first one is what we call excellence. So pretty much states the extent to which the proposed work is ambitious. You have like to submit a plan. We need like to evaluate it. So we need like to see if the plan is something that is beyond the state of art, if it's also innovative or not. The second one is the impact. We need like to see that you have like a clear plan about the expected outcomes and impact. How exactly are you going to achieve and what are the milestones that you need to achieve and why are you doing this? The program should also like be unique. We need to see like the specific like added value for the local ecosystem. We need to see that you are aware of the local ecosystem's needs and why you should address that. The last 2 is the Climate-KIC portfolio strategic. We'll also like post the link so you can see it, but it's fit and compliant with the principles and the knowledge triangle integration, something that Morten also said before about EIT Climate-KIC and where we want to go. The last one is the financial sustainability, and in our opinion, this is the most important aspect and element in the whole process. Climate-KIC, unfortunately for this round, cannot provide any financial support directly to the organizers and the startups. So we need to see in the plan that you have the capacity to cover the expenses and of course allocate the resource effectively. But at the same time, we need to see that you have a plan to fundraise and show preparedness for the sustainable implementation of the program. So sorry, I talk a lot, but now we are closing. We are almost wrapping up with the presentation. A few key notes regarding like the next steps. The first one is that the application deadline is, as I said before, like the end of March, more specifically on the 31st of March at 12 Central European time or 7 p.m. Singapore time. All the assessment will be based on the evaluation criteria that we explained before. And after that, we'll have an introductory call / interview. We want like to call it like a meet the partners instead of just strict interview in order to dive into the plan, get to know them, and of course, understand what exactly are you going like to do. At the same time, we will also like be a feedback to the rejected to the rejected proposals and showcasing like where you need to strengthen a bit more when it comes down to the ClimAccelerator program. Besides that, and once you have been selected, there will be onboarding sessions where we explain you all these tools that I mentioned before and some practicalities of where to find and what. We also have a welcome package information. We have stored most of the key information and so on. So please apply today. We will open the floor now for potential questions. I see that there are already a few like in the chat. So yeah, thank you so much. We talked a lot, sorry. So yeah, we pass it over to you.
Well, thank you very much, Alex. And maybe I should just give you a short break from speaking so you can regain your breath. There are a few questions in the chat. I can read them. Will there be only one implementer representing each country, or is it organization based? Do you want to reply on that?
Yes, of course. So there are like different like questions here. The first one is like if there's going to be one implementer representing each country. So one important element is that for each one of the countries, we want like to have different programs. We do not provide geography-based exclusivity, meaning that we can have multiple programs in the same region, but of course not the same theme. So for example, in Spain, we have 3 programs: the Energy Spain ClimAccelerator, we have the Rural Spain ClimAccelerator, or the Clean Cities ClimAccelerator. So as you can see, we can offer different programs, but at the same time, we need to have like a differentiating factor, and this is the theme.
Yeah,
So,
and maybe
please.
just to add to that is that you could say our starting point is that we see collaboration being stronger also across the different themes as well. And that was what Alex was mentioning with the peer-to-peer learning sessions that we are also organizing.
Yes. So something about the funding of the program. So as I said before, we do not provide pure financial support for the organizers, but we will be here in case, of course, that you are selected to assist you with the fundraising process. From our experience, all these years, we have seen that people either fund this initiative and fund like this program through an existing pipeline or through existing budget from similar programs, or they go out, they fundraise, they present the plan and the program. At the same time, Climate-KIC will also like be there to support you. If it's needed, we can also like jump on the meetings, but we can offer letters of support, recommendations letters to this in order like to strengthen your and multiply the possibility of getting those funds. It can also be, of course, like own funds, but we'll always like give a span of like 3 to 4 months in order like to fundraise for such activities. The fundraise, of course, can also like be from other like governmental, for example, funds, or regional funds through a call for a proposal. So we are pretty flexible, I would say, more than right, about like where the funds are coming from. But of course, there's also the element of the ethics. We cannot have an oil company, for example, funding directly the program so they can achieve like their KPIs and so on. So we all need like to see that you have a plan, at least a plan for the fundraising, and how are you going like to finance the program, and we'll help you with that later.
Good. I think the next question is, if we
Yes.
apply as a joint organization, how do we fill out the application?
So one of them, so for example, we have like 2 or 3 bodies. You can like decide who is going like to be in the front. So we need only one application from that. In the application, there are also like some questions about like potential partners. So there you can pretty much like specify about the roles and how every different like body will contribute to the program. But we only just like to decide one. So you can do it however you want, but we only want one application from a joint like consortium, for example.
Good. And I think you also replied to the following one as a consortium to include corporates, clients, or purely RTOs, accelerator delivery companies, and academia. I think you touched upon that. It is important that all the parties that are part of the program, they are also mentioned in the applications.
Yes, and it can be like really like diverse profiles, like diverse like organizations, accelerators, and as we said, like also like academia. We have worked and we have like delivered one of the most impactful climate accelerators in the UK, like in Ireland. So yes, we are open to every type of organization. Something no, I can reply also like to Mika or Micah. I'm sorry. So do we need like to have 7 startups already involved in our application? No. This is about like the plan, and whenever we open the call, because all this will also like be an open call, we will have identified that we want like to support at least 7 startups in the program. We will help you with promoting the program, and of course it will be like an open call, but at the same time you can jump into your network, have bilateral discussions, but in general, no, we don't need the profiles of the startups already involved. It will be later after we open the call.
Good, and I can maybe take the next one is the fee to partner. You could say that also what Alex was mentioning in the application, you need to make sure that you can document or justify that you have a financial model that can work for you. And in terms of fee to partner, we're quite flexible. We find a way of working together also from our side. So as a starting point, we want to work together with you on equal terms. And therefore, like you could say, we often see the first program a little bit as a pilot, as Alex is mentioning, with 7 startups, where you also show and justify that you have a financial viable model. And the next question concerning the business model for as KIC program manager, I imagine you are referring here to the accelerator program as a partner. If not, then please specify. I would say also what Alex has mentioned before, we have multiple funders within the program, so it's difficult to have a very clear indication. It depends a lot on the local ecosystem, but we've seen in many programs that there is both in terms of actually funding from either government or private entities, but also we often see that public entities, they're able to provide some kind of in-kind support as well to the programs. It's good. We're getting a lot of questions. Alex, do you want to take the next one?
Of course. What is the timeline for supporting each ClimAccelerator program? Is there a specific period for engagement, say 6 months or a year? That's a good question. And actually, this is something that we have it like a bit like vague here, but it's like on purpose about like where we want like to start. So the call is actually the deadline of the call is actually the end of March, as we discussed. So then we'll be selecting and announcing the results and organizing all these aforementioned interviews or like rejection at the same time in the first like 2-3 weeks of April. That means that then we'll have 7 months like to run the program in 2025. So the first like 1 to 2 months can also like be in the preparation about like the fundraising and so on. But ideally, we would like to start the program in the beginning of like in the end of like Q3 maybe. Of course, we are flexible around that, but at the same time, we want like to keep the momentum of that post on our social media and so on, and at the same time making sure that you have like everything that it needs like for that. In ideally for the ClimAccelerator and the program, we don't want to go more than 5 months, 5 like to 6 months, because we want like to keep the cohorts like shorter. And also this also a trend that we have identified through all these years, not only within the Climate-KIC, but also from similar accelerators, that this model of the long running and stretching accelerators is something that is we are leaving it behind. So we want like short, I would say like rather like short, minimum 3 to 4 months, maximum like 5 to 6, that are like impactful and at the same time keep all this momentum that we discussed. But this is like the months, these are the months that you should like keep in mind. So around like the summer, I would say, if it's even sooner, if it's like sooner, that's even better for us. But it really comes down about like financing the program and be prepared for the program. And
Good.
yeah.
I can take the next one from Omar. Can we have NGO, non-profit entities as partners? Yes, you can. We don't see any limitations there in terms of partnering. Maybe what is important is that as an applicant, you cannot be an individual. There needs to be an organization behind, and that can be a non-for-profit, foundation, a public entity, a private entity. We don't distinguish in that sense. So no limitations there. But as an individual, we do not accept applications.
Great. And I can take the next one from Wendy. So the successful delivery partner has to fully self-fund the program or be funded through their consortia partners, government funding, etc. Yes, that is correct. I would say like Wendy, but of course, you can not like be a consortia partners, but you can also like fund the program through specific like sponsors with the minimum involvement to that. So yes, that is correct.
Good. Let's see if any more questions coming
Yes,
in the chat.
this is the time. And also, if you have like any questions about like the branding, the social media, and all the outreach that we're going like to do, this is a great time because Krista is also here, and she can help if needed.
And maybe just concerning the last question, it might seem very, you could say, very specific in terms of delivery partners. They are self-funding the program. We don't see it specifically as delivery partners. We see you more as a strategic partner, I would say. And therefore also it is actually at a strategic level also in terms of the inputs that you're giving. The first interaction or cohort is often just to, you could say, there is an understanding of the elements of the programs, and thereby also by the following periods, you will be able to continue additional fundraise based on the experience and also the legacy that you have created.
And if it's also like helpful, we can also like share in the follow-up email with the recording and like some success stories that we have like from all these years, so you can identify and see all the scaling for organization for the organization that we have like supported like so far, starting from a first a pilot version of the program, as Morten said, and then through all this exposure and the connection with the organization of Climate-KIC, then you would see about the potential scales for your organization. So yes, this is something that we understand that this is important and the biggest like challenge of the program, but we promise you that all the exposures and the connections that you will make like through this will compensate for that, and you will also like be able also like to partner on a different programs, maybe outside even of the ClimAccelerator.
Then there's a question concerning events from MK concerning India's largest climate summit. I would say that at a general terms, we as Climate-KIC, we are rather privileged that we get a lot of invitations to a lot of events, and also the startups that have been part of our programs, they are more or less on a weekly or an even daily basis are invited to different activities. I would say as a starting point, in terms of also when Alex was running through the program, the demo day or other activities where we can find a way of supporting you in terms of participating in your events, we will definitely do that. In terms of larger summits, in order to participate there, we will try our very best. It is sometimes possible for us, but there are unfortunately also a lot of big, large summits organized on a weekly basis that we are simply not able to participate in. But as you're mentioning, this is India's largest climate summit. We have partners and quite a lot global network as well. So sometimes if you have you could say interesting opportunities for us, we're happy to share it also within our network. So we will most likely always find a solution. And we're also on time, Alex, I can see.
Yes, I'm also posting in the chat three links. So the first one is where you can find like key information and everything that we discussed today about the call for expression of interest, and the other two is the application portal links. We have one application, we have like one form for the Agritech and the blue economy. We have grouped them up, and the second one is the deep tech application. So I want like to keep those separate. So yeah, we also like on time. That is correct. Do we have any other questions? Maybe like from someone? Please, whatever comes to your mind. This is like a great time.
I think you have explained everything, Alex. Well done.
Maybe. Yeah. So I will also like stop. Yeah, sharing my screen as well. So yeah.
And maybe just as a general recommendation, which sometimes can happen, is when you could say that the application deadline is not until the end of next month. However, we recommend not waiting until the very, very last minutes. And if there's any additional questions as well, then you're welcome to share them with the email address at the Climate-KIC.
Yes. Okay. So it seems that we are also like on time. Once again, thank you so much for being like here today. We will follow up as we mentioned before with a recording and some like key links. So yeah, have a great day, have a great afternoon, have a great evening from wherever you are joining. Please send us an email with potential like questions, and we'll do our best to get back to you. Thank you once again, and see you around.
Thank you very much. Bye bye.